Hello again everybody. It's been a little while since I posted anything on YouTube, and as it happens I'm doing something a little bit different from my normal run-of-the-mill instruments, and I've also got a couple of things I wanted to show off. One's a new tool which I'm very excited about, so I thought I'd put that right and make a video. I say I haven't posted anything recently. That's true. I haven't done any direct videos, but I have been contributing to the Luthier's Lunch Break series of posts, which, if you don't know, are very interesting, provided you're interested in guitar making and lutherie in the first place. If you search for Luthier's Lunch Break on YouTube, you'll find them. There's a series of about, I don't know, 12 or 13 I think now, magazine type programs, and I usually have a slot there along with a load of other very talented and interesting people, so do check it out. Anyway, that said, let's get on with this video. I've got a commission from a Swedish friend of mine that I've built a few instruments before already, but this time round he wanted a copy of a Harmony H22 semi-acoustic bass. I'll try and find a picture to slot into the video here so you can see what I'm aiming for. But he found some plans online which he sent to me, and I've printed off, so I've got the basic idea of what the thing looks like and how to construct it, and I'll stick fairly closely to the plans, I think. Those of you who know my work already will remember that I try and make each instrument personal to its new owner. So in other words, I give the person I'm making it for a pretty free license to put on the kind of decoration they want, or a color scheme, or inlays, even on the headstock. I don't put my own logo there. I have my own label in the instrument normally, of course, but otherwise it's pretty much, each one is unique and special to the person I'm making it for. So while they're normally decorative elements, this time it's the wood itself that's part of the emotional connection between the owner and the instrument. So the wood my friend wanted to use came from a tree in the Bergslagen region of Sweden, which is an old mining and iron producing area, and his in-laws, so his wife's family, have some land there, and this was a mountain ash tree which had fallen over some years ago and had just been laying there, and my friend picked it up and took it to a local sawmill and came back here to Luxembourg, where we both live, with a set of planks sawn up fairly crudely. This is an example. These are offcuts from what I've already used, but most of the planks are about 1.50 meters or so. Very bent when he first brought them, because they were still kind of green wood, I guess. So he stored them for a while, clamped up, and then passed them on to me, and I stored them also for a while, clamped up. And he asked if possible, could we make the back and sides of the bass guitar out of this wood, and I wasn't at all sure, and I said, I'll have to kind of look into it and try and join it up and see if I can make a back out of it and see how it bends for the sides. But I'm some way into that process now, and I'm getting more confident that I can use it. So here's the back, which is what I started with. This is only slightly oversized. You can see the eventual instrument is quite a monster, but this is a 1, 2, 3, or kind of 4-piece back with even a couple of little bits on the sides, but I've thinned it down and it seems fairly stable and quite usable, I think. And I've got the side pieces here. You can see that it's a thin line body. This is 4 centimeters, so it's going to be quite a thin instrument for all that it's very large on the sort of plan face view. So the next step is to try and bend the sides, and that's where we go on to my new tool, which is a new bending iron, which I can't wait to try out for real. So I'm going to get it up and show it to you. So here's the new iron. It's made by a Belgian company based in Bruges. The name is Buhn. And you can see this thing is built like a tank. It's very heavy. I've used a bending iron, normal, quite decent bending iron for years, but this one seemed much more versatile. I saw it demonstrated in the Netherlands in a show I went to, by the manufacturer, in fact, who also gave me a tip on bending, which I'm going to pass on to you when we come to that moment. I've drilled and tapped a hole in the top, and I've got two different sizes of smaller radius, basically, things so that I can bend easily round, small radius round sections for rosettes or something like that, even down to kind of ukulele size. So these obviously just screw in there. But otherwise it's completely standard. And so I'm going to fire it up. It heats up really fast as well. Yeah, I'll go with that. So while the iron's warming up, I'll talk a little bit about the sides. You can see the guitar is a cutaway model, single cutaway, so the sides won't be bent the same way, they're asymmetric. But the tip I saw at the Dutch show was they used to stop splintering on the outside of a bend, which has been a problem for me in the past. I've had wood, kind of crack on the outside of a tight bend. They put on some gummed paper strip on the outside of a bend, and this seemed to work very well to stop any splintering. And this is I don't actually know what it's called in English, but it's basically a sort of it's like old stamps used to be. This is just a water soluble adhesive, so it's not sticky when it's dry at all. And it's important that it should be, I think, a water soluble paper adhesive, so that afterwards when the thing's bent you can soak it off easily just by wetting it. I think if you bought one with a a sort of sticky adhesive on it, then I don't know what you'd probably find a solvent that dissolved it, but it's so much easier if it's water based. So I've applied this on the outside of the waist bend and the cutaway, which has this kind of very tight bend here, another one here. So these are those two sections here. And I'm keen to try this out to see how it works. I've no idea how well this wood bends in the first place. I've thinned the waist area down to a little bit less than 2 millimeters, and even a hair less than that on these very tight bends here and here. But the rest of it is about, I don't know, 2.3 or so, I think. And it seems to be fairly flexible as far as I can judge just with my hands. So we'll see how it goes. So I'm ready to start bending now. I've got the waist marked, or the center point of the waist, and the paper on the other side, obviously. I'm going to use a minimal amount of water. I might not need any, but I'm a bit worried about scorching, so I'm just going to use a bare minimum of water, because obviously too much is just going to make the tape on the back peel off, and it'll be useless. So one advantage of this iron is this huge, nearly flat area, which means you can you can heat up a long section all at once quite quickly. And this sort of teardrop cross-section of the iron means there's a big choice of radii. This seems to be behaving quite well so far. I'm going to try it against the template. It needs to be a bit tighter than that. I've put my added round section on the top, tight radius, just in case I need it for. I probably will actually for the very tight curves on the cutaway side. Might even be useful here for the waist. I don't know how hot it gets. That's another thing. I need to kind of measure it and see, because obviously it's going to lose heat much faster being on the top like that and having. Oh yes, that's working quite well. It's pretty close already. I'm overbending slightly because there's always a bit of spring back, but that's great. It's pretty close. It's actually that way up, of course, but unevenness to the curve. You can see just here it's that's too tight and this isn't quite tight enough, so I'll try and adjust that. There we go, it's the top section done. So now we just move on to the lower bout, which is comparatively easy. I've still got the hardest bit to do, of course, but I thought I'd start with as I didn't know the wood and its characteristics, I thought I'd start with the easier side. I normally start with the most difficult bends. As you can see, I've only put the tape on the tightest bends because, these are comparatively easy and shouldn't pose any major problems. Having this large flat area, well, not flat, but not far off, is great because compared to a normal iron, you can heat up such a lot more of the wood at once, and that makes for a more even bend, or at least it's easier to get an even bend. You can do it on a standard iron, of course, but okay, so I need to start. This bend doesn't start early enough. I need to begin here. It's getting there. There we go. So now, it's if anything a little bit too tight just here, but I'll straighten that out when I've done the rest of the lower bout. It's a little too tight here. I need to straighten that just a touch. So I'm right at the end of the tricky bit now, and the thing I have to be careful not to do is bend this section here, which is going to be where the fretboard comes down. It needs to be straight, and then go into the curve at exactly the right point. And this is, put it mildly, tricky. I need to get a bend right here, but honestly within the space of about, certainly less than a centimetre. Needs to transition from a bend to a straight section. Ah, there we go, it's getting closer. Well, I have to say that went really well. I'm very happy indeed with the bending iron. I've got a great bend on the, this tricky cutaway. I'm going to put this in my mould overnight so it can settle into its shape. One thing which you may have seen on the video, but I didn't actually specifically point out at the beginning, is the shape of the iron it's not symmetrical on both the long sides. I'll pull the camera down and show it to you. I think it's pretty plain to see that the two sides are different shapes. It's got a sort of ever increasing radius from this point right round to here, whereas this side is generally flatter but also not an even curve. So all in all, you've got a huge variety of curves you can bend with it. I think they're very well designed, really well constructed. If you were considering one, and they're not cheap by the way, I would factor in this addition. So buy some length of round aluminium bar, and be prepared to tap it into the bending iron as it comes, because unless you get it right first time, and I'm certainly not good enough to do that, if you need to refine a curve, you haven't got room to maneuver, even on a standard bending iron, and this is bigger than normal. So if you've got a round section like this, you can easily manipulate and refine these very tight curves. So all in all, I'm very happy with it. Just one more thing before I go. This brown paper tape trick seems to be very good. I don't honestly know whether this would have splintered on these very tight curves. I've never bent with it before. It seems pretty good tempered, to be honest, but this is such an easy thing to do. It's sort of an additional safeguard. You can use the metal straps on the back of a bend to support the outside, and I've got one, but this is an easy belt and braces approach to add to it, so I'm definitely going to continue to do that. So that's about it for this time. So until next time, goodbye for now.